Hello and welcome to the first of 4 videos to do with England and Elizabeth's relations with Spain, which eventually will lead to the Spanish Armada. So today we're looking at the rivalry that existed between the two countries, focusing on the political and religious rivalries. And how that during the 1580s that the relationship between the two countries got so strained that they were on the point of war. I've added in some exciting war sound effects there to really get the point across about how it was nearly going to war. So Mary's sister was previously queen, obviously Mary Tudor, and during her reign, the relationship between Spain and England was good. However, once Elizabeth took charge and they became a largely Protestant country, the relationship soured somewhat. Philip II had the support of the Pope, as Protestantism was seen as a threat to the authority of the Catholic Church. And on the other side of that, many people in England, especially Protestants, obviously saw Spain and Catholicism as a threat. So we see Prince Philip, and if you've watched the, Philip II, and if you've watched the playlist on the revolts and the plots against Elizabeth, Philip II does become heavily involved in Catholic plots. A further bone of contention between the two countries was what was happening in the Netherlands, and in particular the Spanish policy there. So since the 1400s, the Netherlands had been a Spanish colony. However, many of the Dutch there became Protestant.
Sorry.
As you would expect, Spain were unhappy about this, and they began a campaign to try and restore Catholicism to the company, and this was led by the Duke of Alba. So the Spanish Catholics executed many of the Dutch Protestants. This was known as the Council of the Troubles, or the Council of Blood, in 1568. I suppose if I was, corny, I might insert a "no one expects the Spanish Inquisition" joke here. Spain's campaign in the Netherlands angered many in Elizabeth's government, who now saw Spain as a threat. They were a direct threat to Protestantism, and they were a direct threat to England itself. So what would the English response be? Well, they were going to secretly help the Dutch. They would allow Dutch sea beggar ships to use English ports. Sea beggars were essentially pirates, so allowing them to use English ports obviously was something that was angering the Spanish a lot. They provided the Dutch rebels with financial support, and people such as Sir Francis Drake, privateers or pirates, were encouraged to attack Spanish ships and colonies in Latin America. Arr, and there he is, my hearties. So by 1576, the war in the Netherlands was becoming too expensive. Spanish troops were being underpaid, and as a result, understandably, they were getting angry and upset. Now, this led on to something which was called the Spanish Fury, when troops ransacked the Dutch town of Antwerp. 17 other provinces, both Catholic and Protestant, joined together against Spain, and a document was drawn up. This was called the Pacification of Ghent, and this demanded that Spanish troops leave the Netherlands. Oh look, they've got no money. That's what that means, because his pockets are empty. So eventually the Duke of Parma manages to restore and regain control of the Netherlands for the Spanish. English allies, the Duke of Alençon and William of Orange, were killed, so they no longer posed a threat to Spain. There was a treaty signed in 1584 called the Treaty of Joinville, which united Catholic France and Spain against the Netherlands and England. And as such, Dutch Catholics were now ready to make peace with Spain. So this only went on to strengthen Philip II's position. So England and Spain weren't really getting along at the moment. Philip blamed the English for supporting the Dutch rebels, and he claimed that what they were doing made the situation worse. He was also really angry at Francis Drake and his cronies and the other, privateers for attacking the Spanish ships. And Elizabeth's government, blamed Spain for those plots that I was sort of mentioned earlier, Babington, Ridolfi, Throckmorton, that were, plots to try and overthrow Elizabeth. So this is the start of the rivalry between the two countries, and it's the first video for. The next one we'll look at the commercial rivalry between the two countries. So until then, goodbye. Oh, I almost forgot. I just think it's very important that I credit those that need credit in, and I've got to do a big shout out there to Louis and Blair, who without whose help it would have been impossible really for me to make this video today. So shout out to Louis and Blair, and I will speak to you on the next video. Goodbye.